Here we are. Happy Tuesday. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Awesome. Looks like we've got some people still trickling in here, so we'll give everybody another couple minutes. A lot of folks in today. No pressure. It's going to be busy. So hey, let's talk about what we have coming up today. We've got what's new in VMware vSphere Foundation with Himanshu Singh and Harshad Kolte, who are both in the room with us today. Coming up tomorrow, believe it or not, we're doing a twofer this week. So we've got Transform Your Cloud Strategy with VMware Cloud Foundation with Rick Walsworth and Sabina Anja. So that'll be fun. And then next week we're back to the LinkedIn lives, and so that'll be VCF Workload Mobility with HCS and HCX, and Gabe Rosas will be presenting that session. Just as a reminder, Explorer is open for registration. Got some good stuff planned coming up here in August. Got a lot of really good programming, heavy technical sessions this year compared to years previous. So really strong VCS focus. So get out there and register. And also, I've heard some rumors that Barcelona registration is opening too for the folks out in EMEA. So keep an eye open for that. So with that, I think we're just about ready to go. Gentlemen, we have a packed house out there in the audience. So why don't you go ahead and start with your introductions and we can get rolling.
Wonderful. Yeah, this is what we want. We want packed houses. So first of all, thanks and Dr. Simon for having us. This is a really good opportunity to be able to share and talk about what's going on in vSphere Foundation and talk about some of the new stuff that we just announced today. And so for this audience, welcome. Thank you for joining. And you're going to be the first folks to kind of, hear live about some of these new things that we're bringing to VMware vSphere Foundation 5.2 that we literally just announced hours ago. So this session, we'll talk about vSphere Foundation, but just before that, from a quick introduction perspective. So my name is Himanshu Singh. I run product marketing for our compute offerings as well as AI. So think about vSphere and the related offerings, including vSphere Foundation. And then the private AI kind of offerings that we have and some of the partnerships we have with folks like NVIDIA and Intel and IBM, et cetera, et cetera. We'll talk about AI some other day, but today is all about vSphere Foundation. And to talk about that with me is Harshad.
Hi, folks. My name is Harshad Kolte. I'm also part of the VCF division and reporting to actually Himanshu. I'm responsible for vSphere and vSphere Foundation products from a product marketing perspective. Back to you.
Alrighty. So let me start sharing my screen, and then we can kind of go into what's going on. Hopefully, you guys can see this clearly. All right, here we go. That's much better. Okay, so the topic of the day, of course, is all about what's new in VMware vSphere Foundation. What we'll do is we'll get started by talking about some, kind of what's vSphere Foundation overall, and what are we trying to really do with this? Why should you care at the end of the day? And then we'll go into a lot more about and spend a lot of time into covering what's in the latest release, the vSphere Foundation 5.2 that we just announced, etc. All right. But before all of that, I just want to do a quick recap. The slide that you're seeing right now is all about the kind of massive simplification of the VMware portfolio that we've done, right? After the acquisition by Broadcom, one of the most important things that we've done, and this is something that we're getting a lot of really good feedback from customers about, is simplification of the portfolio. We really came out and said, hey, if you're looking for kind of a full stack private cloud deployment, VMware Cloud Foundation is the right offering for you. If you've got kind of a vSphere based environment, maybe a small to medium sized enterprise, you should be looking at vSphere Foundation so that you can really optimize your entire IT infrastructure and really focus on that use case. Now, on top of that, those two key offerings, we've got a bunch of add-on capabilities that are specific to individual use cases. So again, very granularly for specific needs that customers might have, you have those add-ons available both in the case of vSphere Foundation and Cloud Foundation as well. All right, with that, I'll quickly move over to talk about, hey, some of the things that we're seeing in the industry and how that's kind of impacting you, and how that's impacting the solutions that we're building for you, right? So we all know there is solid deployment happening in the public cloud, in hyperscalers, but a lot of times we forget that there's significant growth happening in the private cloud and on-premises environment as well over time, because customers like yourself realize that there are specific use cases where it just makes better sense to deploy on premises. And there's all sorts of reasons. There's performance related, or latency related, or data privacy, data security kind of related. Sometimes there's a like a regulatory kind of reason on some of these things as well. Sovereignty, data sovereignty, and those kind of things. All sorts of kind of reasons. Cost predictability is another big one that customers typically talk about. When we look at kind of private cloud deployments, etc. So excited to see growth there, and this is the area where vSphere Foundation focuses on, is kind of the private cloud or the on-premises environment in this case, right? Because yeah, customers are seeing significant growth in their kind of spend on the kind of public cloud that they may not have planned for. And so, as I said earlier, cost predictability becomes one of those interesting kind of things, basically, as well. And also, as we look at application modernization, or modernization of your IT footprint overall, as part of like digital transformation initiatives, etc. One of the key things that customers are looking for is to be able to have an easy way to run both their traditional as well as modern applications. And that's another key area that we focus on, and we'll talk more about as well. Okay. One other thing I'll mention is, as you're deploying in different locations, of course, on premises, public cloud, and the edge, etc. There's a few things that you really have to kind of think about, or plan for, right? And this is where I think a lot of the leadership or decision makers in your organizations are kind of thinking about how do I make sure that I can continue to innovate? My organization, my end customers, or lines of business, for example, continue to innovate, and how IT can actually support those needs, right? The other one is of course around modernization. How can I modernize at scale? How can I leverage newer technologies? For example, AI, right? Right now is a very, very big impact coming from AI across the industry, across everybody. How do I manage my costs overall? How do I make sure that I run a tight ship, that we are efficient, and we're able to meet our SLAs, meet the performance needs of our workloads, and still make sure that our costs are in check. Fourth key area is around cyber threats. That's a big one nowadays. If you can think about, I think one of the numbers we saw recently was around more than 70% organizations have had some sort of a ransomware attack in their environment, which is just a ridiculously massive number if you think about that. And so having a strategy, having a plan to be able to defend against that and be able to recover from that, is very, very important right now for leaders. The proverbial last but not the least is sustainability initiatives as well. More and more organizations have very, very specific goals related to ESG, sustainability in general, whether it is net zero commitments, etc., or something else. The idea is that they're looking for solutions that are able to support those requirements. Okay, so essentially what we come down to, in this case is a few key areas, right? We want an enterprise that is looking to run a modern kind of environment, is looking for a modern solution that is able to provide, intelligent operations management capabilities, able to provide an infrastructure that is delivering the performance that they really need. Things like DPUs, GPUs, all these kind of accelerators that are available these days that need to be supported by this kind of infrastructure platform. And that it is friendly for developers and DevOps teams and any of these kind of end user personas that are really looking at modernizing applications or building new modern applications, so that developers don't have to get bogged down by processes. They don't have to get bogged down by the need to understand infrastructure. Instead, that they can really focus on the application logic. They can focus on delivering value to their organizations and to their customers. And then the fourth one is the evergreen an important topic around security and compliance, right? We can do all these things, but at while you're doing all sorts of new applications, etc., you have to, you must, just, it's critical to be focused always on security and also on compliance related needs as well. So that that's probably a big ticket item when it comes to CIOs, etc., and leaders in your organizations that are thinking about. So bringing all of these kind of inputs, into consideration is why we came up with vSphere Foundation, right? VMware vSphere Foundation. We introduced this in December 2023 timeframe, and the core idea is essentially is all about taking your kind of vSphere-based, your virtualized on-premises environment, and really focusing on optimization of that entire IT infrastructure. That's what vSphere Foundation is all about. And we'll use the session today to talk about some of these four key areas around operational efficiency, innovation for developers, DevOps teams, etc., security, as well as being able to deliver the kind of performance that modern workloads really require. So those are kind of the four big areas that VMware vSphere Foundation focuses on and is delivering value to customers on. In fact, we'll share some numbers based on what we're seeing as results from our customers based on the adoption that we've seen, and the really strong and encouraging results that customers are seeing by adopting and deploying vSphere Foundation. Okay. If you look at kind of just the structure of it in terms of like what are we really offering in this case, right? The idea is you've got those key needs that you're thinking about, that bottom layer essentially, right? And in a private cloud environment, in an on-premises environment. And so what vSphere Foundation delivers is that kind of that enterprise workload engine through the vSphere Compute offering. It also includes a small amount of storage through vSAN in there as well. But what it really does is it brings in intelligent operations management, advanced analytics based on machine learning, that really take things to that next level. And this happens with the combination of our area operations as well as area operations for logs capability. So area operations used to be called vRealize operations or VROps back in the day, and then the other one used to be log insight. So customers who are familiar with those names from earlier, just want to point that out. And again, it's a very fundamental, and it's not a complicated value prop. It just makes sense. Simple as that. In terms of being able to further optimize your kind of on-premises environment, your vSphere-based environment, and then on top of that, we make sure that we're offering key capabilities to address specific use cases. So we talked about disaster recovery, ransomware recovery, etc. That's offered through the VMware Live Recovery offering as an add-on on top of vSphere Foundation. Of course, you can really convert your you can add more vSAN to vSphere Foundation and really convert this into an HCI, hyperconverged infrastructure solution as well. And then we also have kind of an advanced load balancer offering available on top of this as well. So again, key use cases addressed through these key add-ons, but the core offering is extremely simple. It addresses a very fundamental kind of need for our customers, and it's just one of those kind of mass appeal type of solutions, for want of a better word. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some of those benefits I was mentioning earlier, right? So as customers have adopted, as they're seeing this value of the operations management layer on top of vSphere, they're really seeing the significant benefits, right? So from an operational efficiency perspective, you can think in terms of, hey, for example, like how much time are admins spending on getting things done, on troubleshooting or managing on a day-to-day task, etc. And you're looking at 75-80% kind of improvement there. You're also looking at significant drop in terms of how issue resolution time, because there's a lot more guidance available to you through the solution. So yeah, it's much faster to be able to troubleshoot and resolve issues that are happening in this particular case. Downtimes are significantly reduced in this particular case. So you're looking at going from, for example, like a 99% uptime to a 99.999% uptime. Like that's the level of kind of reduction when it comes to downtime. In this case, of 5x reduction in relative downtime. To the customers are seeing. This is again customer reported numbers, and based on the studies that we've done and reached out to them. And then the last one is around this kind of last minute hardware costs, right? So because with advanced capacity planning capabilities and capacity management capabilities available, there are no it just completely eliminates any kind of last minute hardware costs. You are able to forecast and plan for capacity and into the future, which basically means that it's just you avoid that kind of a headache and those kind of surprises, and you're running a much smoother environment with a lot more predictability in terms of what your needs are in terms of growth, as we look at taking on more projects, supporting more workloads, etc., and how you can grow your environment and keep managing it in a very simplified and consistent manner at the same time. Okay. All right. So that was kind of an introduction into what is VMware vSphere Foundation. I think this would be a perfect time to just take a quick poll. I think we have a poll available in the system at this point in time.
We do.
There you go.
Let's see. We got what are the biggest challenges for you and your company? That one? Or are we
That's
looking
correct.
for? Okay, so, let's get that puppy going. And you see the options up on the screen. We'll take about 30 seconds here, so please hop in and vote. There we go. And then we've had a couple of questions come in, so let me know if we're ready to maybe field one of those while we're waiting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's just take this first one here for right now. It is, hang on 2 seconds. Can I upgrade to Cloud Foundation once I have purchased vSphere Foundation?
Yeah, so if you, for example, are running just kind of core vSphere, or you're running vSphere Foundation, and over time you see, hey, my use cases are broadening. I'm really looking for a full kind of a private cloud set up essentially, and then that's the right kind of use case that I'm looking at. Absolutely, it makes sense for you to be able to upgrade from your existing vSphere Foundation environment and go into VMware Cloud Foundation. Now, the right way to do that is to reach out to your VMware or VMware by Broadcom sales rep, or the partner that you typically kind of work with, and explore the process to be able to kind of do that, and what's the right way for you to adopt, etc., etc. So that's what I would recommend doing.
Awesome. All right, looks like we've got some poll answers here. Let's take a look at these results. All right, so it looks like 62% the winner with IT maintenance and updates are time consuming, followed then by 45% cost of operations exceed our budget, and then exposure to cyber threats tying with scaling infrastructure, and then supporting DevOps efforts and bringing apps faster to market. So a lot of good answers there, and some couple unexpected answers. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I mean, this is, again, we're not scripting this, right? You guys are responding to poll live and everything. And the funny thing is that, well, once Harshad comes on, he's going to share a little bit more about some of the new stuff that we're introducing. And I think that number one problem that you guys have just identified is something that we are very actively looking to address. So, we will have Harshad kind of talk about that. So I think that's just naturally the perfect segue for you to now talk about what's new in vSphere Foundation 5.2.
Great, awesome. You can go to the next slide. So Himanshu just talked about what vSphere Foundation is and set the context for how we look at the value proposition of vSphere Foundation in terms of our four operational, four messaging pillars. Um, but there are a lot of great features addressing exactly the concerns that came up in the poll, and we'll kind of go pillar by pillar and address them. So if you go to the next slide on operational efficiency, on the operational efficiency front, there are three main areas of feature updates. One is around a newer console that we have just released in this. There are a few lifecycle management enhancements, and again, not surprisingly, to address the IT challenges, there are some features on troubleshooting. So if you can go to the next slide on the console. Um, uh, Himanshu also spoke that what are the different components of vSphere Foundation? It is vSphere core itself, and then ARIA Ops and ARIA logs. We have always maintained that while VVF is new, it was only launched in December. The components themselves, ARIA Ops, logs, and vSphere have been in existence for a while, and there has been tight integration across those products as well. But by nature of its first release, some of the capabilities that were in ARIA Ops and some of the capabilities that was in the vSphere client itself, they were a little disjoint. You had to go to multiple places to get information that you needed for either lifecycle management or for other operations. So if what's new in this release is a new simplified console, and not to beat the single pane of glass cliched message to death, but truly that's one single place that you can now go to in order to see all of the capabilities that and all of the operations that you need for lifecycle management. You can look at you can do patches and upgrades from there. You can look at your certificates and do certificate management, identity management, diagnostics. There are insights for troubleshooting and for also monitoring your compliance from compliance perspective. A little bit more detail into each of those. So let me touch on diagnostics and troubleshooting. So there's a consolidated diagnostics that you can also see in this console. Previously, you would have to either go to Skyline Health Advisor for some diagnostics, or go to vCenter for others. Now with this consolidated diagnostics, you can see all of them from all of these three different components at one place, and really reduce the time it takes for you to troubleshoot issues. Eliminates the need to jump between consoles and between different UIs. Going to something that's not explicitly mentioned here, but it's in the kind of in under the security bucket. But again, we have something called single sign-on across all of these three components. And that's all enforced inside the vSphere. Or like organizations obviously adopted a single sign-on for all of their operations. Now they can do that with using vCenter as the platform. Only one of the vCenter instances needs to be configured as the identity broker, and basically all of the capabilities then are presented to the user using that. You can also do this for multiple vCenters, which are which can be linked to this primary vCenter. But that single sign-on is again another example of how we are consolidating and getting all of the capabilities inside one view. On centralized certificate management, right? Digital certificates are obviously, they are used to establish secure communication channels, and we have to verify the identity of parties involved in the communication and all of that. So certificate visibility therefore becomes very important, being able to monitor them all from one place, then and making sure that those certificates are not expiring, and essentially ensuring that you have compliance for that. So IT admins can now do that, and can continuously monitor the status of those certificates and prevent them from getting expired. So it reduces the administrative overhead again through automated certificate discovery, more accurate maintenance of those of your certificate inventory and details, and avoid certifications and ensure compliance. Right. So another aspect. So the third piece of it is again along the same lines on unified licensing. A huge effort was taken to ensure that this capability is exposed, that all of the licensing is in a centralized place, gives a single place for again admins to manage license keys across deployments. And something additional that's new inside there is that it can give you provides you a point in time as well as a historical view of license usage. So when you can look at your license and get some historical trends so that you can do future planning. So again, if you see all of these different capabilities, they are all going towards making the life of the IT admin easier and much easier. Overall, with this feature, with the simplified console, you get a unified, holistic, and a single place to manage or do all of your lifecycle management operations. That's a huge feature in this release. If you can go to the next slide. So the key numbers that Himanshu presented, one of the second element of that was around lifecycle management specifically, right? So with vSphere 8 Update 3, and vSphere 8 Update 3 is an integral component of both vSphere Foundation and VMware Cloud Foundation. But the functionality is definitely exposed in vSphere Foundation. This is one of the major features from that release, live patching. And with live patching capability from within ESXi, customers now can um, take lifecycle management a step further. In previous releases of vSphere, like 8 Update 2, we had reduced downtime. We optimized how the vCenter instances themselves were getting upgraded and reduced that time. But with this, that takes a step further. Now you can do those patches and upgrades in most cases with and apply those patches without any reboot of the or with the VM evacuation. So basically, it's no downtime for those types of virtual machines. And essentially, what happens there is it and uh, the host enters some a partial maintenance mode, and a new mount revision is loaded, and a new and the patch version. So there's some animation there which shows that. So in this partial maintenance mode, you can basically set yourself up to a new mount revision so that it can be then at that point it's something called fast suspend resume to migrate over. So the basic feature itself is non-disruptive patches, so you don't need to plan for maintenance windows, and you can get that enhanced system reliability with seamless lifecycle integration. You can go to next. So along the troubleshooting and diagnostics, right, kind of related to the third metric that we had, again from a faster troubleshooting perspective, incremental feature inside VVF is around alerts and being able to avoid those alert storms. If you get a lot of alerts due to a single failure, then what capability was added in area ops and logs was the ability to basically intelligently cluster them together, take them one level up so that you can get to the root cause of the issue much faster. You can fine tune these symptoms. You can have a historical view of the alerts, a lot of different capabilities to enable faster troubleshooting. Again, we spent the most time again on the operational efficiency pillar. That's one of our key value props for vSphere Foundation, as well as the new features coming in VVF 5.2. You can go to the next slide. Now, Anders mentioned that one of the surprising answers was on around DevOps, which was the lowest out of those 5 areas we just did in the poll. In the poll, but a lot of focus has been on giving support for DevOps and providing self-service capabilities for developers, so that they can concentrate on their core value prop, develop those new applications, and get them faster and faster to market. For this, you need self-service capabilities to separate the developers from IT. And some of the biggest changes or biggest enhancements that we have done in vSphere 8 and exposed again in vSphere Foundation is on this self-serve capabilities. We have taken what used to be delivered through vSphere with Tanzu and taken that to the next level. This is basically extending it, extending those IaaS capabilities with something we're referring to in all of our collateral as the IaaS control plane, and all of the services are exposed through the IaaS control plane. There are basically 3 main types of services. There are VM services, supervisor services for managing your storage network, etc. VM service for VMs, but the new feature inside here is the independent TKG service for cluster for Kubernetes clusters. So if you can go to the next slide, but I'll talk to a little bit of the detail of those. With the independent TKG service, this is a new capability, and it separates out so that there is decoupling of your Kubernetes releases and the vCenter releases or vSphere releases. Previously, until you get the newer version of vSphere, you could not really upgrade and consume your upstream Kubernetes versions. So although you had the ability to be, I call it a Kubernetes shop, you really didn't have that capability because you were tied to vCenter or vSphere updates, which don't happen as frequently as the Kubernetes upstream changes are. So with this release, because of the decoupling of those, now you can customers do not have to wait for that. You get access to the latest Kubernetes versions, and that really enables the DevOps engineers to take those services and be able to develop their applications faster and get them faster to market. So independent TKG service is one of the key new features from a innovation for DevOps perspective. Then the access to that is exposed through a new feature, and you can click the next slide, which we are calling the local consumption interface. So for the vSphere this audience, right, for the vSphere customers who have seen vSphere 8 update 2, there was a capability. This capability was exposed in something called the Cloud Console Interface (CCI), but that is now only exposed through Cloud Foundation. And so with vSphere Foundation, you can get the same capabilities, the exposure and access to those IaaS services through this. It's basically a vCenter UI. Shows up inside the application. And what you could do at the cloud console, at the cloud level in VCF, you can do that for the local instance and get access to all of those services. The new user interface for all of the core service consumption, it provides the users to create VMs, TKG clusters. You can do provision load balancers, persistent volumes, all of those. And this is available in vCenter for each individual namespace. So that's the capability, access to the self-service capabilities of the IaaS control plane. These are two main features from a DevOps perspective, and getting them access to the services faster. And click next. So I think the main 3-4 features I've already touched upon, right? From an operational efficiency, we spoke about live patching, and from the console. From a DevOps and innovation perspective, we spoke about the IaaS control plane, TKG service, independent TKG service, and LCI. Smaller capability, but this is very much asked for feature, which is the support for vSAN stretch clusters. For supervisor services. So that again, something that that's a capability that was just added in this release. I think we have two more areas. So if in the next slide. So interestingly, again going back to the poll, it was security is always upfront, something that's top of mind. Single sign-on. So I spoke a little bit about these features and their details in the operational efficiency kind of domain, because all of these capabilities are exposed again through that console. That single sign-on capability is exposed in that console, centralized certificate management there, licensing as well. There are a little bit of more details. We can go quickly through the slides, but I already spoken about it. So if you just how it actually looks is all of the identity brokering is done through vCenter. But the capabilities are then basically you don't have to go to separately to vCenter to REOps and the logs in the case of different consoles, right, for diagnostics or licensing or the different capabilities inside that. So single sign-on across all of those components. The next feature on next slide is just gives you an idea of a little more detail about the what the certificate management is. It's discovery of all of those certificates, getting inventory of all of those in a single place, and visibility and usage from monitoring perspective. And same thing on the next slide for licensing. You can see historical usage of the licenses and do your capacity your license planning. Single entitlement across all of the components, centralized ability to look at all of the consumption. So all of these three features kind of exposed again in that simplified console. I think that may be Yeah, and again, this is a quick reference to capability that we have, which is the drift configuration drift for vSphere for the different vCenter profile templates. But with this as a follow-up, we'll be able to remediate against that drift as well from a compliance perspective. Last set couple of features and on the next slide are related to performance. Now remember, this is just the incremental features that are delivered in VVF. In the initial release, we did talk about how you can maximize the ROI of your resources by certain features on vGPUs. There were enhancements that were introduced in December, and there are some incremental features now which are now delivered in VVF. I'll talk about both of them in the next slide. The first one is on Kubernetes auto scaling. And again, building on the other capabilities that we did for TKG, right? So we have independent management or decoupling of releases for Kubernetes. But the other thing is then being able to scale that, do that scaling for the Kubernetes clusters themselves. So with the Kubernetes auto scaling capability, like the name says, you can scale up and down your Kubernetes nodes based on your on demand. So again, making a better use of your resources and improving the performance of your workloads. And the next feature refers to some enhancement, two specific enhancements for vGPUs. If you can click the next slide, Himanshu. The first one, again, the heterogeneous vGPU profiles was a feature that was introduced back in ATU2. And what it does is allows us to effectively share GPU resources. From a progression perspective, we introduced GPU support, then we were able to slice the GPUs with vGPUs. Then we were able to add different types of profiles for, whether it's VDI workloads or your other AI workloads, and we are able to then use those vGPU profiles and be able to then share those so that you can optimize your GPU consumption and sharing of those resources. The additional capability also in ATU3 is that now you can truly do that with GPU profiles of different sizes. So if you go back, to your traditional view of how fragmentation occurs of resources, this is a better way, a step further in making sure that you can share those GPU resources and truly do some load balancing of those effectively. And the second smaller enhancement for that is the DRS support for it. So with the DRS support at the vGPU level, again, you can do your workload placement dynamically. Again, both those sets of features for GPUs allows you to share your GPU resources much better and get a better performance from those. I think that may be my last slide. Yep, awesome. So let me just sum it up. So if you have to take away like the top three things that we want from the release, it's the new simplified console for a better experience across all of the VVF capabilities. ESXi live patching, which is again will help you with reducing your maintenance windows or eliminating them, and IaaS capabilities that now you can get from the IaaS control plane and from the independent TKG service and related services. With that, I think we are at the time of the poll.
Awesome. And we got a couple questions too, so we can get those rolling at the same time. So let's get the poll up. Folks can take a look there. So first question number one is, why is such a small amount of vSAN in VVF?
I'll defer that to Himanshu.
Yeah, no worries. I can take that and talk about it. So, I mean, the whole idea with the vSphere Foundation offering is to keep it simple, keep it light, and as part of that, we did want to give customers, a little bit of that vSAN so that they can actually, look at that. Think of it as more of a trial capabilities. Think of it as more of a, POC type of capability where you can kind of dip your feet a little bit, and if it makes sense for your environment to be able to go from like a hyperconverged infrastructure, you can just add vSAN as an add-on on top of it, and go kind of full-fledged at CI. But we didn't want to add that by default. So because not every customer is gonna have that need. So we wanted to keep it really focused on IT infrastructure optimization, the ops management, log analytics capabilities,
that we're adding on top of core vSphere. And then, it's that little bit of vSAN is just there to give you a taste. And then, if it makes sense, you can explore more of a, vSAN add-on and have that conversation with the salesperson.
Awesome. And then just another one real quick. If vSAN's an optional add-on to VVF, does that mean that it's not a requirement and that you can deploy a third-party enterprise storage? If so, which ones are recommended?
You can absolutely use your existing storage. Now, here's the thing, right? With vSphere, the ecosystem is so vast and broad that there isn't one that we would recommend, because we've got, like, we treat all partners equally, and so you've got really good options out there when it comes to storage, when it comes to all sorts of other kind of add-on capabilities that our technology partners and the ecosystem has really built on top of core vSphere. And vSphere Foundation benefits from all of that, like that, multiple decades of innovation delivered through the ecosystem. All those benefits are available, for people who are adopting vSphere Foundation.
Awesome. All right, well, let's take a look at our poll results here. So VMware vSphere Foundation could help me with, number 1, simplifying operations and improving efficiency. Number 2, better diagnostics and faster troubleshooting. Number 3, improving my organization's security posture. Number 4, enabling developers to access self-service IaaS. And number 5, none of the above. Couple none of the aboves in there. So I'm almost kind of curious as to where some places are where there is a blind spot. So, all righty. Well, with that, we can keep rolling. There are a couple of questions, but we can save those for the end for Q&A here.
And I think that's my cue for, welcome back, Himanshu.
All right. So I think what we're going to do now is, now that we've talked about kind of what is vSphere Foundation, what's in the kind of the newest release, kind of bring things back a little bit and talk about some of the key use cases that we're really addressing. Now, the funny thing is, of course, we ran this poll, and lo and behold, you guys are like just the best aligned audience, in this case, or I guess maybe we should say, we've been listening to you really carefully, and so the use cases and the needs that we really built vSphere Foundation for are, I think, aligned to the kind of needs that you guys just highlighted in that poll as well. And so I'll quickly go through some of this. It's not rocket science, but it's important to kind of call that out in terms of key benefits and key use cases that you guys you can expect, right? So. There's things around capacity management, capacity utilization, really getting the most out of your investment into your IT infrastructure, as well as all the different tool sets and the people that you have, right? Because at the end of the day, efficiency is by making the tools better for the people who are using them, so that their time is freed up for higher level tasks, essentially, right? And that you're able to achieve those typical kind of repetitive things or manual things in a much more easier kind of way, of course. A couple other things around, of course, SLAs are always important. We've got the idea of, like, all the monitoring, the predictive analytics that kind of comes with, so that it's just easier to troubleshoot. And I've mentioned this like a bunch of times at this point in time. IT budgets are tight, and so the whole concept of getting more and more return from the existing resources that you have is paramount, and that's what one of the key capabilities and use cases in this case, right? The other one is around, if you look at some of the kind of performance that's needed for newer workloads, whether you're looking at traditional AI workloads or some of the newer generative AI type of workloads, if you try to run large language models, etc., that you're leveraging GPUs for graphical processing units. That's a key area that you can do with vSphere Foundation in this case, and just overall making sure that we're giving you good visibility into what's going on with the infrastructure health, making sure that your resources are performing optimally, and if there's any drift and if there's any kind of variance, that you are giving a heads up so you can solve those potential issues before they become a problem in this case, right? And then there's all those kind of core capabilities around DRS, for load balancing, and in a concert with things like vMotion, to make sure that your moving workloads around, your initial placement as well as your overall load balancing is done in a very optimal way, both across CPUs and GPU resources in this case, right? So that because now we have GPU aware DRS, and then as well as some of those as Harshad was sharing earlier, some of the newer capabilities where we really enhanced DRS to factor in the vGPU resources, because we're really seeing more and more customer adoption and deployment of GPUs in their kind of core environments, right? So that's kind of becoming a bigger and bigger use case as we go forward. A couple others in the kind of the innovation of modern workloads is, hey, you should be easily able to modernize your existing workloads, right? So to meet newer needs that you might have. At the same time, you should be easily able to build and run new modern applications by using Kubernetes clusters, containers, virtual machines, etc., or a combination of any of those, right? On one platform. Right? So you have one consistent way of managing everything instead of creating these different silos, right? Because as the more silos you have, the less your operational efficiency is going to be. And so the idea is that it's just vSphere, right? You know how to run and manage vSphere, and we're adding more capabilities while making sure that that experience is still consistent for you and becoming more and more efficient enough over time, right? And then the last one that you see on screen is around some of the things that Harshad was talking about earlier, where we are improving the way we provide, giving you self-service access, especially for developers, DevOps teams, etc., to be able to really, easily able to leverage infrastructure resources, and then be able to focus on application logic and not have to worry about understanding, the nitty-gritties of managing infrastructure, right? IT can take care of that. Keep in mind that at the same time, IT has, full control, and governance in this whole thing, and you're able to give like a sandbox environment for developer teams to be able to just play around, do whatever they want, while you still have kind of overall governance and control. So that just basically becomes that win-win for both types of organizations and teams. And then the last one is around just making sure that we're providing a secure environment. So whether you're looking to leverage specific identity providers, or having MFA, etc., being implemented. So that's a key piece that we're supporting with vSphere. We're continuing to add more and more identity providers on the vSphere platform as we go forward. Also, I talked about this earlier around governance. Compliance to industry standards, et cetera, making sure that you're compliant, and then continuously that compliance is monitored. And if there's any deviation, that again you get alerted, and you can make sure that you address that very easily in this case. Also, encryption from a security perspective is key. So both at rest and in motion encryption for all your data, that's key. So that through like encrypted vMotion basically, right? So those are kind of key. So the idea is in this case is be able to provide you a platform like this, is a virtualization environment, virtualized environment that is considering security as a key capability for every feature that we deliver, that is secure by default essentially, right? So that's an important area to think about. Now, couple of quick things I'll call out before we kind of end the slides and go into a little bit more of the Q&A. Is I mentioned this earlier, but I want to just make sure that we take a few seconds here as well, right? So add-ons that are available on top of vSphere Foundation. So we've got kind of core use cases we talked about. If you're looking for disaster recovery, if you're looking for ransomware recovery capabilities, the add-on of VMware Live Recovery is available to you. In this particular case, on top of vSphere Foundation. If you want to, move into an HCI deployment, you can add more vSAN, as an add-on as well. If you're looking for load balancer capabilities, in this particular case, the AVI load balancer is available as well. And then as we go forward and we, as we continue listening to you, we'll continue to add more add-ons that have, that have specific needs in this particular case. But we just wanted to highlight those in here. Now, taking a step back from it all, what's, we mentioned the beginning about kind of VMware Cloud Foundation and VMware vSphere Foundation as the two big ones. But keep in mind that if you have smaller environments and you have a more reduced set of needs, I guess. That vSphere Essentials plus Kit, VMware vSphere Standard are still available for some of those basic needs that you might have. And then, of course, with vSphere Foundation, we talked about all the capabilities and components, etc., that are available to you. vSphere as a platform, as your enterprise workload engine that powers everything in your organization. It's been around for a long time. We've been innovating, we've been adding capabilities based on what you need now and what you need tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after. Because just for those folks who are going to be like, well, what about the day after? Because we're all 10-year-olds at some point in time. But the idea here is just on the slide is we know vSphere is the leader in server virtualization, but it's really good to see based on feedback from customers, right? This is on the g2.com platform, based on feedback that customers are realizing that or sharing that, hey, they're recognizing vSphere as a leader in container orchestration area as well. And so that the idea of making sure that both VMs and containers are able to be managed in a seamless way, in a same exact consistent way on the platform, making it just easy for you is ringing true, because it's resonating with customers, and it's validated by their feedback in this case. All right, so those were kind of the things that we wanted to talk about, share with you in terms of what is vSphere Foundation, what are some of the new things in 5.2. What I would say is, check out vSphere.com. Easy URL to remember. It'll take you and show you all the details on vSphere Foundation that we have available. You can look at the VMware Cloud Foundation blog that we have at Broadcom, and that you'll see the blog post related to the 5.2 release that we just posted earlier today, and all sorts of more details there. It has links to some of the more kind of technical deeper dive articles and blogs that we've posted, etc., as well. So you can learn more about the latest release based on that. And if it makes sense for you to adopt vSphere Foundation, and we really hope it does, because we think this is a very, very fundamental kind of value prop, reach out to your customer, to your sales reps from VMware or from our partner resellers, and have that conversation and look in terms of what's the right path for you to adopt vSphere Foundation. All right, so enough of slideware. We really appreciate your patience through this, and also those really strong responses to those poll questions. But I think we have a few minutes now for any additional questions that you might have that we can address.
We do. Let's start off with this one here. What version of operations has all those new features? They evidently don't run ARIA Suite on their embedded with their VCF deployment currently.
Okay, I believe it's 8.18, Harshad, is that correct?
It's like 8.18.
Yeah, so that's the latest one. So we've announced it, but the bits are going to be released soon, very, very soon. So what we've done today is we've announced VMware vSphere Foundation 5.2 as well as VMware Cloud Foundation 5.2. And a couple of the underlying components in there are VMware vSphere 8 Update 3. So that's something to definitely look forward to, as well as ARIA Ops 8.18. And so both of those are, again, announced today. The bits are coming soon, so for you to download and all that. But you can go to the blog and learn all about the capabilities of each of those kind of components as well.
Awesome. And then where's the portal where we used to buy licenses and renew support? That's a good one.
Not super familiar on that one, but that's probably best addressed by having a quick conversation with your sales folks, because I know there's been transitions in terms of what the old VMware portals used to be to the new Broadcom portals, etc., for license management and all that kind of good stuff. Again, remember, as we have transitioned over, the offerings are not available as perpetual licenses anymore. These are subscriptions, right? As core-based subscriptions. So it's different in terms of how you kind of manage your subscription for vSphere Foundation as well as Cloud Foundation.
Got it. All right, this one's about patch management. VCF patch management is taking 2 months, 300 servers in VCF pod with multiple ESXi reboots. How are you planning to reduce the patching cycle?
Ooh, didn't we just talk about this whole live patching thing today? But so again, VCF environment, I think looks like they mentioned. So I don't want to, oversimplify that, because again, if you have a large distributed environment, I totally get it, right? We've had customers who have to take like long downtimes and then kind of do this ESXi updates in waves and all that stuff. And if you have a really really large environment, it takes a significant amount of time to get everything to the latest version and all that. And that is exactly why for the past few releases of vSphere, we've been really, really focused on reducing that downtime that's needed. So if you think about last couple of releases, we've talked about the reduced downtime upgrades for vCenter. That's a big one. Where we significantly shortened how long it takes for a vCenter to be updated. And again, customers typically update vCenters more frequently compared to ESXi, just because there's fewer vCenters. But also on ESXi, we've been looking at reducing that overall kind of time it takes. I forget the name of the capability before, but a couple of releases ago, where we significantly shortened how long it takes for ESXi upgrades. And in terms of just managing some of those resources and how things come up and go down, etc. And then now with the new ESXi live patching, right now in the initial release, it's going to be available for kind of more restricted type of critical security patches and all that. But as we continue working on this, and in future releases, you can expect us to be able to roll this out a lot more broadly as well. So you're really looking at significantly cutting down any kind of like downtime you need for planned downtime you need for upgrades, etc. as you go forward.
Those features were ESXi pre-staging and configuration profiles in addition to
Yeah,
the
exactly.
ones
Yeah,
that.
there you go. So that makes a big difference, because you can do like in parallel, pre-staging and all that stuff. And so you can, instead of sequential, you could do parallel ESXi upgrades. You could do the staging of the images beforehand. So that again cuts down the downtime, etc. as well. So a lot of work and focus on this for sure, as is evident from what we're hearing from customers, or we're hearing in the polls, etc. as well.
Mhm. Awesome. All right. To optimally use TKG, does this VVF offering include NSX load balance essential features?
So the core basic load balancer is available as part of that. If you have kind of more, I would say, advanced needs, you've got kind of that AVI load balancer we talked about separately. But yeah, the basic load balancer, it's always been available, right? I mean, this is not new. Whenever we added, back in the day when we used to talk about vSphere with Tanzu, the basic load balancer was available as along with TKG service as well, and it continues to be today.
Mhm. Awesome. And then if I want to use any public cloud, say the big three, as an extension of my private cloud, what licenses do I need to add VVF?
So I would say vSphere Foundation is very specifically focused on an on-premises environment. With VMware Cloud Foundation, we have a lot more kind of portability in terms of where you deploy and how you deploy. So you can actually take your VMware Cloud Foundation license, and you can choose to deploy on a hyperscaler or a CSP or your on-premises environment, etc. But with vSphere Foundation, we are very specifically focused on an on-prem environment.
Okay. Will SSO functionality support the SAML ADFS login for on-prem vCenter server appliances, or only VCF, formerly ARIA products?
I don't have a clear answer on that one. I don't know, Harshad, if you do, but if this is something that we can clarify and come back to, potentially reach out to us offline as well, and then we can look at that in terms of exactly what's covered there. But basically, the idea with the single sign-on is to look at being able to do that single sign-on across your core vSphere as well as both those ARIA components as well.
All right. And then we've got time for one more here, just a quickie. Will Carbon Black remain a seamless integration with VMware products, vCenter?
Again, this is a VVF session, so I'm not going to comment on that. Not something I have information on or control on, right? So I think I'm with the customer on that question. Hey, I don't know. It's the right people will make the right decisions.
Mhm. All right, there we are. Well, and unfortunately, we are officially out of time now. A lot of good questions there. And as we mentioned, if you have additional questions, we will have these gentlemen back. Absolutely, we'll get you guys back in for more. What's new, um, and so definitely bring questions for next time. I'm sorry we couldn't get around to just about everybody, but with that, we are at the top of the hour and we have to take off here. So thank you again so much, gentlemen, for joining us. We look forward to having you back soon. And for everyone else, please remember to join us for the session tomorrow. We are doing 2 this week. And so we look forward to seeing you all again soon. Take care.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much, bro.
Thanks for having us.
See you next time.